Today on Spotlight on the Arts, artist Billyo O'Donnell and writer-journalist Karen Glines. Welcome to JCTV Spotlight on the Arts, coming to you almost live from the Missouri State capital city of Jefferson City, Missouri. Spotlight on the Arts is endorsed by many art enthusiasts and art lovers, for that matter, throughout the world now, thanks to YouTube. I'm your host, Rick Jey. And if you will, turn with me as we meet and greet Billyo O'Donnell and Karen Glines. In the year 2001, a collaboration began between writer Karen Glines and artist Billyo O'Donnell for the task of engaging in a 7-year project involving traveling to each of the counties of Missouri to write and paint in a collaborated effort for the publication many artists have been able to identify with, called Painting Missouri, the Counties in Plein Air. Billyo O'Donnell found points of interest to paint, looking for that perfect image, should we say, and Karen researched and wrote descriptive essays on each painting. Karen's writings meld well with the paintings that Billyo painted to bring about a fantastic viewing on canvas. Those 115 counties of Missouri, that's basically 114 counties, including naturally the city of St. Louis. So please, I'm very happy to turn with you, viewers, and invite, or welcome, should I say, Billyo O'Donnell and Karen Glines. Welcome, and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. You inspired us last December, basically introducing Billyo O'Donnell to us in another time, but now today we have him in the flesh. So I would now like to ask Billyo to share with us what describes the big question, Billyo O'Donnell. Give us a little bit of Billyo from this big on up.
Raising a family of 9 kids.
Oh my!
You know, I was number 4, and by that time, the older ones have kind of wore my parents down a little bit, and I had a little bit more freedom, and you know, we were raised in an area where there was probably no one around us for about 23 square miles. I mean, it was, and we just, so in my youth, I had this tremendous amount of freedom that was just exceptional.
Now, was that in the state of Missouri?
Yes, yes. It was out near, it's about 70 miles west of St. Louis, not far from the Missouri River.
Oh my.
Warrenton County.
Yes,
out there. And I did a lot of things with mud, pond mud, when I was a kid.
I bet.
But after that, I just, I got a scholarship. I went to college for a year, but I had no one to really use as a model to become an artist, and I got a little disillusioned, and I basically flunked out after a year. And I had a couple of great instructors who told me to get my head together and come back. And while I was gone, I had this amazing intuitive moment of reality when I accidentally cut my hand in a sawmill. And you know, the big fear at the time for me was that everyone was telling me I was going to be, all the family members were telling me I was going to be broke my whole life. But I just had this moment where the person that was taking care of me, I saw a good, honest, hardworking guy who had nothing. And that moment changed my life, because I realized that I could become an artist and still have nothing. And life would be wonderful because I'd be doing what I loved, and I never looked back.
The grand life of a starving artist.
And I just focused and went on, and you know, I've had these wonderful, amazing moments where you know, to do this project with a writer like Karen is just a real honor. To be recognized for some of the things I do across the country is, you know, just really exceptional. So I feel like I'm really blessed in everything I do. So.
Now your home is part of the years in Hawaii.
Yes, yeah. I spend about a month and a half, sometimes 2 months in Hawaii. I go to Charleston often. I go out west and paint out there, and I go to those areas. That's because that's where I have galleries that show my work.
But still great scenery too to choose from.
Yes,
I'm sure,
yes.
and experiences which we've known. We're going to talk more about the book.
Okay.
And get involved in that, but getting to know you a little bit more, as people have so many questions of me about Billyo O'Donnell. So you're the best one to really kind of answer those. Well, can you share with us what inspired you basically to become an artist and how you became interested in the plein air painting?
You know, I think at the time there were several modern art movements that were happening. And I had become very disillusioned with just the art world in general. And I was an illustrator at the time, and I just said I'm going to paint the landscape. And I got a little French easel, and I'd go out and I'd paint. And Peggy and I would, my wife Peggy, we'd take the kids to the river, and we would do little picnics at the river, and I would set up my easel and paint while the kids played around, and I started getting more and more serious. I started doing it more and more often. And then the one real important moment was the Japan Creators Association did a book that it was sold in every country in the world, and they put my artwork on the cover of this book.
Oh my.
They do one every year, and they did my Missouri landscapes in the first 4 pages. And so I was like, well, this is great. And then I did a presentation at work, and they started a lot of the Japanese loved my work, and we had several Japanese clients, Fortune 500 corporations. So they started sending me to destinations like in Hawaii, like Mauna Lani, or the Laguna Niguel and the Ritz-Carlton in California, or the Arizona, and I would do a painting to commemorate the business event. And so it was something that carried over, and I just started becoming more and more serious about pursuing that painting from life on location. No idea. I had no idea. So I would go there and I would do several paintings, and then they would pick one for me to do a big painting of. I had no idea plein air painting or landscape painting would become such a huge
I can understand
movement type thing.
It's really caught on over the years,
and
we hear so many people are now interested in that. And you set the perfect example with your illustrations and paintings. So that's great. Now I can identify not only with 18 months living in Japan and the enthusiasm and their work, the fine detail in their work, and their lighting and what have you. I was really impressed in my period of time serving U.S. Uncle Sam, shall we say?
Oh, okay.
And based out there, but also I can also identify with playing and sculpting in the mud.
Oh man!
As a child too. So there's a couple things that I can identify with, as our viewers will.
It was a whole summer. We would basically take our shoes off after school, go barefoot all summer except for Sundays, you know, and I would just play in the mud and make things.
That sure brings back great memories for me, and I bet it does for some of our viewers as to live along the Missouri or the Mississippi, the Osage or what have you. So that mud has a nice therapeutic feel to it between the toes or hands. So, well, great. Well, you've shared with me just recently that you are planning leaving for a trip to China, back in the Far East area. Can you share with us the viewers the highlights of this well-deserved, shall we say, invitation that's coming up really soon?
Yes. I've been asked. I've been selected. There's actually only 2 of us here in America that are going to this event to represent the Plein Air Painters of America. And the Plein Air Painters of America is a group of about 36 of America's top landscape painters, and you have to be voted in, and I was a member that was voted in. And so we're gonna go to China, and we're gonna be participating in this. It's actually an international watercolor event, and they want us there to be part of this because next year they want to do one on oil landscape painting. So and not only that, but they also want some kind of exchange with the Plein Air Painters of America here in the States. And so this is going to be a real cultural exchange. It's going to be really special.
Oh, that sounds exciting.
It is exciting. Because they're going to bring in like they're going to bring in the best landscape painters from Russia next year. They're going to bring in about 30 of China's, of 1.5 billion people, China's landscape painters and artists from Europe and America, of course, and Australia, and so it'll be fascinating. It'll be an event that'll have a tremendous impact on me.
Yes. Now you're going to be entering this week also a show in Jefferson City.
Yes.
At the Capitol Arts Gallery. And then that's to include being the featured artist for I believe they call it Beaches and...
Life is a Beach.
Life is a Beach. And that's happening at the Capitol Arts Gallery. Billyo will have paintings there. He will also be the featured artist for that show. And we'll be talking, as I promised, about the book in the second part. But he'll has a new addition to the book, and he'll be having a book signing, plus a little bit of a presentation that he'll make to those people on hand, representing not only himself, but also those artists that will be in this Life as a Beach show that's happening real soon. So we're really looking forward to that. Billyo, you and Karen received the Governor's Humanities Award, also known as the 2009 Governor's Distinguished Literary Achievement Award by the Missouri Humanities Council for the book Painting Missouri. Can you enlighten us what that felt like and a little bit about that?
I actually didn't make the event. Karen was there.
Well, the event was for both of us, for the book. And it was, Billyo's parents were there, which they were, of course, very proud of him.
Oh, yes.
And it was a huge honor that we received it for the book. And the book, the honor specifies it's a book that describes the history and culture of our state. And we were both extremely honored.
Yes, let me say this. If my English teacher from high school knew I received a literary award, she would be more than shocked. So, Karen for her writing,
yes,
and for me more of the literary in terms of the images and capturing that form of literary.
And how many? Well, we'll talk about the book in the second half. So now we've given you a little bit of a teaser on that, and we'll bring up more on that. Again, I laugh with you, not at you.
I enjoy it. It's fun.
Later on in writing, I still love to write, and so that I can appreciate Karen's professionalism when it comes to journalism and what have you. Well, we're getting about time for the break, so hang with me if you would, please. After the break, we learn more from Karen Glines and Billyo O'Donnell, who will tell us more about the new printing of Painting Missouri, the counties in plein air, and where you can meet Billyo and Karen soon in Jefferson City, Missouri. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're really not that talented.
You're not attractive. Too fat.
You're too short.
Too old. Why don't you just give up?
Give up.
Give up. Just give up.
The magical thing about using energy wisely is that anyone can do it. turn off lights. Use energy-saving light bulbs. And turn off computers and game systems when not in use. Make a change and we can really fly. Grab a grown-up and go online to energy.gov/kids.
We continue now on Spotlight on the Arts with special guests today, writer, journalist Karen Glines and Billyo O'Donnell, well-known artist throughout the world at this point, as the book, Plein Air Painting of the Missouri Counties, is known even in other worlds, shall we say. I have a friend in China that has a copy of this book that we'll be talking about soon in the next few moments. They're here today to give us an overview of what it takes to publish one of the top publications presenting an artist's and writer's interpretations, should we say, through a window only really you'll be able to see now right here at Spotlight on the Arts. So join me as I turn once again. We're here today not only to visit with Billyo and Karen at a personal level, but also to learn about the 5th printing of available now of the book, and Carrie Billyo collaborated on Painting Missouri, as I spoke a moment ago. Painting the Missouri, the counties in Plein Air. Over 8,000 copies have been sold.
Have been well produced.
And so there's more to be available soon, and we'll tell you all about that. The 4th printing, I guess we will bring a book from that area to show you, what have you. But I'd like to turn to Karen. Karen, as the writer, journalist, which shared her life as a writer-journalist in an earlier show. You can tune into that here at Spotlight on the Arts. Karen, please, if you can, share with us this collaboration, how it came about between you and Billyo, and bring us up to date on the upcoming Any Planned events, what have you.
Well, I can't begin to express what an experience this was.
Go ahead.
How the Painting Missouri book came about.
Oh, excellent.
Billyo and I first met in 2000. I was St. Louis's first digital writer for the arts through America Online. And my job was to focus in on all the major places in St. Louis and then talk about events that were coming up. And there was an event coming up called Artists Along the Katy Trail in St. Louis, out of the St. Louis Artists Guild. Anyway, to make a very long story short, I asked them about it because I kept reading about how artists were going to be traveling across the state and they were going to be painting. And I couldn't concentrate on the rest of my work because I was intrigued with who these people were that would take their time to paint images and landscape across the state of Missouri. So I met Billyo in 2000, and the first thing he said to me, well, Karen, I can't really write. And I said, well, I can't really paint. And I think that's why this has worked out as well as it has, because our interests are so varied, and yet we have so many commonalities as we've grown to know over the years.
Yes.
I think we're both pretty creative, and because our interests are different with the writing and the painting, although Billyo can write very well. I edit now and then, but he's a good writer.
And Karen sees color now.
And I see colors I've never seen before, exactly.
Yes.
That I think that we've just learned from each other very, very well. And so after we did the Katy Trail project for 2 years, we would talk about the book, a book, not the book, but a book. How wonderful it would be if we could create a book that other people could be aware of, the beauty in our state that maybe we weren't aware of. Those of us who are in the everyday grind of working, driving down Interstate 70 just as a highway and not knowing what's off the beaten path. So we researched what we would do, and we started with the University of Missouri Press and talked to them about the concept. And it was not an easy project to get off the ground, because we had to prove to them that this was a book that both of us, as a single artist and as one writer, could achieve, because we're in the top 5 states with number of counties. We have 114 plus the city of St. Louis.
Yes.
And we would keep in touch with them and call up and say, well, we were so glad we had a snowy winter. Because Billyo wanted to make sure he had an equal representation of seasons. And I think it didn't take long after many of those calls that they realized he and I were serious. This wasn't something we were going to just do on a whim and stop. And the book, after 7 years, came out in 2008, and they printed it 3 times. It sold out 3 times. And then we realized that we needed another printing, and we chose a different printer. And this time, the printer, which is located in Montana, we did a couple changes. We had the cover, the jacket is also on the hardback cover, and we added an index, which,
That's great.
believe it or not, took a very long time. I had no idea. But it took at least a month plus, because so many people would say to us things like, well, where is Daniel Boone's home?
Yes.
And now they can simply look in the back and find all those key spots. And then, Billy, what about some of the paintings you just revised a bit or color changed?
Well, when the book was first produced, it was all done with transparencies.
I see.
It's an old mechanical photo. It's an older compared to today's digital.
Yes.
So I had some of them shot digitally, so they reproduce better.
Oh,
so, yeah,
much
so
more
there's
quality.
Yeah, so there were several images in here that the ones I was not happy with, and we had them digitally photographed and used in the next edition, in this edition.
Also, I want to bring up that you'll see in an artist's life, we talk about maintaining our art and staying busy with it, or you sort of lose the strokes, and they come back to you after you start moving again. But also in our artwork, you seem to improve, what have you. And you can see throughout the book, in my opinion, as somewhat of an artist, where you can see the changes in Billyo's laying on the paint. There's just a difference, I guess. How would I describe it, Karen?
And I think that's what's so historical.
Heavier paint.
And I didn't notice it. Karen did.
Well, it actually occurred, the last show, all of the paintings were on display. By the way, the entire exhibit of 115 oil paintings in museum quality frames has traveled across the state from '08 up until 17, and the last show it was at the St. Louis Artists Guild in Clayton, Missouri. And that's where people came to Billyo and me and said, I can see during the 7 years the variance in Billyo's art somewhat. I mean, I've seen his art ever since we met in 2000, and I like the thick paint and I like the strokes that he does. He's a wonderful artist, but the artist, I think, as yourself, Rick Jey, could probably even see it more than...
Well, now, the book was a gift from Billyo and Karen to me, and I have reviewed that the last few months, so actually about 6 months, and I could see the difference.
And I wanted to comment on the back of the book simply because this is the only courthouse he painted in Ray County, and Rawls County, excuse me. And this courthouse is one that is now calls home in Rawls County because the goal of these paintings we're hoping that they stay in the communities in which Billyo painted.
Oh, great.
They were a family of art in one collection, but now that they're available, our hope and our dream is that they can stay within their communities.
And what are the procedures or steps to make sure that happens? Have you got a plan or a way of trying to make that happen so the paintings remain? For example, we have behind us the beautiful painting Billyo did of the state capitol here in Jefferson City. And I know you're hoping that this finds a home at the Capitol here.
Yes, yes. Like Karen was talking about, this painting actually wound up with someone from the Historical Society purchasing it, so it stays in that county.
Excellent.
We've sold some of them already, and some of them went to places like Poplar Bluff and to the museum down there, the art museum.
Yes.
Someone in St. Genevieve purchased one, and they hope to eventually leave it to an institution there. So we've had this happen several times. St. Louis County was purchased, and someone donated it to the library.
Super.
So we're really hoping to find an interest in a lot of these areas and these regions for these paintings to remain.
So you'll be probably approaching people in that respect. Now,
Yeah,
Dr. Joan Stack and Bob Pretty, who is the president of the Missouri Historical Society, have mentioned and do have an interest in your arts. So I know I have mentioned, I will continue to mention that the capsule here is available.
Well, thank you.
Thank
We'll see what...
And what happened in Rawls County is that they developed a group of people that determined that they wanted the painting.
Yes.
And were able to purchase it that way. Right. And so we, as far as how this is going to happen, Billyo is planning some events perhaps at his gallery sometime in the fall, or we have a website at which point people can look at their particular county and see what the art looks like.
Well, that's a great segue once again into what's happening this week. You'll be delivering paintings to the Capitol Arts Gallery.
Correct.
As we spoke as a featured artist at their reception coming up, so check with Capitol Arts. And you'll have paintings there, not only
this one
available to view or what have you, and also a book signing that the books will be available. That time, that date is June 9th of 2020. I mean, beg your pardon, 2019. That 2020 thing of the Run Center seems to play on my mind a little bit. But so that's coming up on June 9th after your return from
Yes,
China.
And there'll be several paintings from this book in the exhibit that will be there.
Oh,
Yes.
excellent. So put that on your calendar, June 9th at the Capitol Arts Gallery in Jefferson City, Missouri. Well, I have a quote here, and it's very inspirational. It somewhat describes the heart of Billyo. And we look for heart and inspiration from inside, from our artists and writers. Whenever I'm painting, I'm constantly working with my instincts and expressing what I see and how it inspires me at the moment. I cannot think of a better way to spend my life. That's quoted by Billyo O'Donnell.
Oh wow! I'm flattered.
That's
to read
very inspirational. I find that inspiration from that. Well, Spotlight on the Arts attempts to inspire viewers as seen through other people's experiences. Billyo and Karen, would you share briefly with us your thoughts on what is most important to you in this life when it comes to painting or writing? Billyo?
Good gosh, it's here I am at 62 years of age, and it just all went by so fast, and and I'm so glad I've pursued what I've been very passionate about. Yes. I'm so glad that I did it, and even to this day, I don't know where it's going to take me or where I'm going to go, but it's always a surprise. And I thought that things would be really slowing down for me, but they're not. The things are changing all the time, and I'm getting more and more requests all the time.
And that's what's happening with my life. It seems like it completed the circle, I thought. But now things come to me double what it used to be. And so I can understand that. I'm sure some of the viewers, again, can identify with that. So your life, it's great to see, from my perspective, similar, but looking at an individual who can also explain that about life, where it seems like it's full circle, and if you've got good health, it seems just to continue on. So, and that's nice. That's very inspirational for our viewers. So, and Karen, let's hear about, as a writer, journalist, and you're able to express your thoughts and hope that are identifiable with a reader or that you're going to describe for an artist or someone you want to write a book about their life, what have you, I'd love to invite you back for another show where we talk about each painting and maybe those favorite paintings of yours that there's some significance there and heartfelt feelings that you're laying down.
Yes.
So you've got a story for each county, and they're written in the book. So those stories that you can read about. How is those?
Do I get a special pin for being on the show twice?
Yes, we'll make sure we come up with one. I think that'd be.
Karen doesn't have one, so.
Yes, we'll have to work on that.
No worries.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you both for contributing to Spotlight on the Arts. It's been really an inspiring visit with you, and I know it's going to be for our viewers. So we're about out of time. So on behalf of the Spotlight on the Arts, JCTV Access, I want to say thanks again, Karen and Billyo. Do you have any closing statements?
I do, and I just want to mention that only books purchased from Karen and I have this special stamp in them. It's a little design I did, and it's of Acadia, Missouri. And this is the significance of is that this is where the first artist colony started in the state of Missouri. It was down in Arcadia.
Arcadia.
Yes, and it's just a drawing of a water tower, a Lewis Miller design water tower.
So only the books that you pick up on June 9th or through other avenues will have that on the inside the front cover. And Karen, your closing words?
Just what a pleasure it is to be with you, Rick, and again to talk about the project with Billyo. It's always an honor.
So thank you so much. To JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News presentation, Art Gerhardt in the engineer's room today, and my mentor here at JCTV, and naturally our producer, Gloria Enlow, which you can meet on a show that we have taping in process with Miss Gloria Enlow. And all I can say is please look for more Spotlight on the Arts here at JCTV Access, and don't forget YouTube. I'm Rick Jey saying, see you next time. Thanks for viewing.